Welcome back to Fully Loaded. This is your host, JC Cornell, with Samer Ali as always. Samer, actually, 1 second before they find out where they can find us.
Popping the Baker's Inns.
Where can they find us, Samer?
You guys can find us, as always, on this YouTube channel, but of course on www.the813.tv, brand new website for a network of not only Fully Loaded, but also Loose Cannons, Inside the 813, Rock Riley's daily video updates from One Buck, and a whole bunch of other written and video content from us and a ridiculously cool team of creators that we put together to cover the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So make sure you check out the website. And of course, on the way out, if you're new, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit like and leave us a comment after this video is over.
Samer, one of the worst experiences I've gone through going to Raymond James, but Buccaneers lose to Ravens 41-31. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 169 yards on the ground, averaging 11.3 yards per carry. Obviously, 2 massive runs that he had. Before we get to the injuries, let's just talk about the game for a second. How'd you feel about this performance? Obviously, we start out hot. The whole stadium's riled up. We get that touchdown on the first drive. And then what the hell happened?
I honestly think we dominated the first quarter. I thought we came out, started fast. We were energetic. We were on point. We knew what we were doing. They were executing what looked like a very clear game plan from the very beginning on both sides of the ball. We got to Lamar. Our blitzes were working. We were stopping the run. And, of course, on the other side of the ball, Baker was doing what he was supposed to do, getting the ball out quick, finding the open receivers, Mike Evans' quick touchdown. And it seemed like everything was rolling in our direction and the way it should be. And then Mike Evans, that injury, I'm assuming a hamstring like that, from the people I've talked to who've had a hamstring injury where it happens almost like immediately in that moment, it feels like someone's shooting you in the back of the leg. So for those of you out there who are talking, oh, maybe if he doesn't drop a touchdown, we don't lose this game. Listen, that he had it in his hands, and you could see that once his hamstring did whatever it did, I don't want to say popped off its bone, but it popped. Mm-hmm. That ball came out of his hands, just like you getting shot in the back of the leg. It's just a natural human reaction. I'm not going to fault him for that. He's earned the benefit of the doubt as a future Hall of Famer. So
I sure hope so.
Yeah. So, and once that happened, JC, it's like the energy in the team just got sucked completely out. Baker did not play a good game from that point forward. He put on the hero cape, and I've talked about it in the past. You never want your quarterback to put on the hero cape unless it's Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and maybe Lamar Jackson. Other than those 3 guys, I don't know many others that I would want to see put on a hero cape as a quarterback in the NFL. And once Baker put that cape on, I think it was just too much pressing. The team just they weren't able to bounce back. They'd miss a lot of their opportunities, and that's,
it easily could have been 21 points on the board for us. Settling for that field goal to go up, was it 10-0? But that could have been that holding call against Tristan Wirfs. You saw the replay. That's not a hold. That's just a man doing his job as a left tackle. Godwin catches that in the end zone. They take those points away. And then obviously, the Mike Evans drop, which is fine. He dropped it because it's a terrible injury. But I feel like this is one of those plays that's just a Buccaneers killer in our franchise history, whether you go back to as far as a momentum swing. That's what I mean. I mean, like, it almost gasses these players, and the momentum completely switches, and the stadium gets quiet, and we lose the energy. And what a tough game. And let's just move on here.
Well, one thing to that point, JC. Sorry, one thing to that point. In the season so far, we've bounced back from those plays that have killed us in the past. Last year, we learned a lot of that lesson, and this year seem to be, if that happens, we're not so much, losing all of the wind in our sails, but that, and then followed up by the Baker interception in the red zone there, that's when it all just fell completely apart after that. The team just lost its energy, lost its way. Some of it was schematic too, don't get me wrong. It's not like it was just all these guys mental, and it just went downhill, man. But yeah, let's move on.
Chris Godwin out for the year, dislocated the ankle. It was ugly. We all saw it there in person. There was no hesitation to get a card out there as quick as possible. His ankle was dangling in the wrong direction. You never want to see that. It is somehow, in a positive way to look at it, an easier injury to rehab from compared to if he blew out all his whole knee or other things. I mean, they're not even counting out the fact that he could be here by the end of the season playing, which I mean,
It's a long
I don't,
shot. Yeah.
that's a huge long shot. I wouldn't want that. I want this guy to rehab. Just what an amazing guy, though. You see him in the cart and he says, back to work, back to work. That's what he's saying while his ankle is dangling from his body, is just the fact that he's ready to fight the injury, fight the rehab, get to the rehab, get going. And it's a contract year for him. So you hate to see that for him. I'm sure he'll be back. I don't know. I don't know what this means if he returns to the Buccaneers or not. And that's up to obviously the front office and Jason. They're usually loyal to their guys. But there's who knows what we do if we want to try to make a move to salvage the season. We'll talk about that later. But then, like I said, Mike Evans as well with the hamstring looks like he's going to be out through the bye week. The bye week's week 11, could be back week 12, which would be against the Giants in New York. Samurai, I mean, what a devastating thing to watch.
I mean, man, to lose Godwin, I know Evans is a big deal, but like you're always saying, oh, we still have Chris Godwin. He's the guy who moves the chains. Once Evans went out, they clearly bracketed Godwin. They took him away, and it's hard to make that adjustment mid-game as an offensive coordinator because the game plan is built a certain way. You can't just, it's not Madden where you just flip the page and you go to a different set of plays. So I understood that you really couldn't do too much, but at least moving forward, you're like, all right, we still got Chris. We can, cater the game plan in a different way, still make him the focal point, which he has been really technically. But when he goes down like that, and it's terrible because we know who he is as a dude, right? As a guy, he's worked his ass off. He's going to get that contract. Teams were going to be knocking doors down to get him. It was going to be a fight to keep him. And for it to happen like that, for it to basically, I don't want to say killed our season, but it does kill a lot of the optimism surrounding the Bucs because a lot of what we're doing is because we have these weapons. We have Baker able to disperse, the ball to those weapons. But to see him go down like that, his mentality being, I'm going to get back to work. The only silver lining, and I don't say this disrespectfully, is that now you can kind of keep him for cheaper. Now you can kind of, I know the Bucs and the way that they operate, they're going to do right by him at this point. And that means that they could do right by him at a much cheaper cost. I doubt there's going to be too many teams ringing that doorbell, trying to pay him out the ass to bring him to their team, because you never know. He's coming off of an injury, and these guys don't know as much as we know about him as an organization. So there's that silver lining. I'm more confident now that he's coming back to the Bucs next season because of the injury, because of the respect the Bucs have for him, and the fact that they can kind of meet him in the middle, give him a deal like what they did with Baker and Mike, where it's, listen, we're going to meet you halfway. We'll feel like it's respectful. Here we go. He's going to get his payday, and you kind of keep the bus moving. But man, it's pretty terrible to have that and Mike in the same night like that, man. The Bucs are going to have to figure some things out. Maybe change the way their offense works, shift the focal point. They got 3 running backs now that all do 3 different things, but all also good at each one of those things. Got to figure out how to use those guys now more effectively, more efficiently, and maybe spread them all out. So we'll see.
So I want to move on to talk about Todd Bowles. Obviously, it's a hot topic on the internet, on Twitter, everywhere is people writing for Todd Bowles' job for this situation. With the management of Godwin being in the game, it wasn't garbage time because technically there was still, I think the analytics said a 1% chance of winning the game. People have split decisions on this. Todd's taking a lot of heat. Obviously, the defense gives up 508 total yards, 41 points. That's his defense. He's the defensive coordinator. So along with the game management, keeping Godwin in the game, even keeping Baker in the game, and Baker getting rocked on the last play of the game, there's a lot to argue about. And, my instant reaction, I was writing, I couldn't sleep. So I was up at like 2:30 in the morning writing tweets about Todd Bowles. I wasn't happy. This isn't a playoff game. This was week 7 against the Ravens. He wanted to win the battle, but we got a war for the rest of the season. But I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts because I know we talked on the phone about it. I think you feel a different way than I do. But like I said, is he on the hot seat right now? I wrote pretty in depth that, this season, if he doesn't figure it out, I mean, it's almost kind of forcing the Glazers to promote Liam Cohen to the head coaching position and not letting a guy like that leave the organization. Go for it.
Yeah. So in terms of him playing Godwin, I really don't have a problem with what he did. Two reasons on that is these guys are competitors. Clark, the guy who's on ESPN, I can't remember his first name. Ryan Clark. Yeah. Ryan Clark put out a really good response to that, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like, these guys are competitors, and they get paid to play every second of every game on those 60 minutes, week to week to week, and that's their job, and then they take pride in that. And I know that there's a certain responsibility for the coach to protect their guys, but man, when you only have 4 wide receivers dressed on top of it, and last year we saw him take a lot of criticism for not pushing through the Lions game and kind of just accepting that loss. I think part of it is like, man, you still got a chance. These guys are in there, and I think it sends a message that you're not going to give up on your guys, even if it's a slight chance. He could have gotten injured in the first quarter. He could have gotten injured in the second, third, fourth quarter, all the same. It doesn't matter. They understand what they're signing up for as players.
Dirty tackle.
I mean, it was clearly a hip drop. These guys know the risk, and they're the ones I want to go in, I want to play, I want to compete. Mike Evans, for instance, people are giving Todd this heat that Mike shouldn't have played. I'm sorry, if Mike Evans is on the sidelines and you tell him to sit, he's going to tell you, fuck off, he's going to go in the game. There's like certain guys, they not only do they earn that ability to say no, but you just can't stop them, and that's part of their blood, their DNA. Chris Godwin is Chris Godwin because he doesn't give up. Should he have protected him in that moment? Hindsight's 20/20. You never know what could happen. If we get the other onside kick, who knows? Like it's a lot of again, looking back in the rear view mirror type of scenario. I hate that shit. I liked it. I didn't mind it. I knew that there was a risk involved. I had more problems with other stuff that he did, where he was taking players off the field that he shouldn't have taken off. I put a video yesterday about that.
You were making analogies to like a hockey shift, which I agree with. I don't know what in the world that is, why he's doing that. It just isn't. Let these guys get in a groove on defense. You don't just keep shuffling these guys out on the defensive line. It's just not a good look. It doesn't work, clearly, because we're one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL under what he is doing.
The reason it doesn't make sense to me is like, say obviously you rotate guys. They don't play every snap. I'm not an idiot. I know that you have to play these guys sporadically at times. But man, it's the fucking second quarter of the game, okay? You're playing against stars, and a lot of what the Ravens do is up front, running the ball. Derrick Henry, who they'd already taken out of the game at the second quarter. They're like, we're not going to just waste this guy's carries and run into a brick wall. Let's change the way we're doing things, right? And so to take out your players all in one giant hockey line shift, every one of them together. Logan Hall, like if Vita Vea is nursing a hamstring and you want to be careful with him, then take him out for a couple plays. I get it. Totally cool with that. But Kalijah Cansey, him, Logan Hall, JTS, and Yaya Diaby all come out at the exact same time. And not only are they out for an entire series, they're out for 3 straight offensive possessions between the Bucs and the Ravens. And I'm like, what in the world is telling you that you're going to go against a team with stars and take your best players off the field? Like, we coach youth basketball, you and I. Would it ever make sense to sit our best player for an entire half just because we don't want him tired?
I mean, first of all, we're like all-star youth head basketball coaches. But we know how to shuffle our kids, and we do it in a strategic way that keeps success on the court and gets us championships. But yes, back to what you're saying.
I mean, like, I get it. At least you keep some of your starters out there. Maybe take them out middle and then outside and then middle, and not all of them at once. To where if you run a blitz you could have blitzed everyone in the secondary and all the linebackers with Greg Gaines in the front and some guy named number 97. I have no idea his name. And Anthony Nelson and Chris Braswell, like, they're not going to get through. It doesn't matter if it's 11-on-5. They're not going to get through because those guys don't demand that attention. They don't know how to do that job as well. It doesn't make sense to me. And I had a massive problem with that going back to last year. They were doing it in that game, and I think that was a major part of the game plan, or a major part of the game's flaw for the Bucs. But Todd Bowles on the hot seat, not yet. I don't think so. I didn't have a problem with him playing the guys like you were talking about. He needs to fix this defense. I know KJ Britt's the problem, but you gotta fix it. You gotta fix it.
He's the defensive coordinator of this team.
I said right now. I said right now. Right now.
Really, really, really bad to watch.
I get it. I said right now.
He is relying on this offense and Liam Cohen to bail his ass out every game right now. And they have been.
He's
and
relying.
They really have been.
He's handcuffed with the KJ Britt situation, but you got to figure it out, man. Like, it can't be an excuse. And part of the miscommunication.
Where's Kalen DeLoach? I mean, because anyone can be better than KJ Britt at this moment. Like, I know
maybe he's
DeLoach
not.
Just sitting.
Maybe he's
does
not.
He suck that bad? Like, is it that bad of a situation? I mean, it's so hard to watch KJ Britt play in this defense.
I for no reason, like. Sorry, not for 1 second do I believe that Todd Bowles looks at KJ Britt and says he can cover anybody. He knows it. He said as much in press conferences. He said as much by playing Dennis the entire time he was playing him up to his injury. So he knows the limitations that he comes with. But for them to see the other guys in practice and still not say we need this other guy to slide in and take over that position says a lot about those other guys. That's more of a thing to me. I think you got to figure out a way to band-aid the situation, figure it out. And I think some of the communication problem comes from, again, the defensive line shifting out in hockey shifts. Okay, that might be some of the problem, but also the secondary has not played one single snap altogether yet. It has not happened, and that's a major problem. No, it did in the very, very, very first game. Sorry, my bad, but that didn't last very long. We saw who was it? We lost a corner. We lost a corner in the first game.
Jamel Dean?
We lost Jamel Dean with
Jamel Dean, yeah.
Yeah, and then
Thunderberg playing right now.
And then Hall came in. I'm saying in the Washington game, we lost.
And then Hall got hurt, right?
Yeah. So we haven't seen them for much of any time together. So some of that, but again, these are kind of excuses that don't matter in week 7. You got to figure it out, man. If his defense stays like this, I 100% agree. It's Liam Cohen's job at that point, and you're just going to have to, it's just a tough decision, but it is what it is. And I think it would be a smooth transition. But he has time. He still has time. I think he could figure it out.
I mean, he's got plenty of time. It's only week 8 coming up.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next hot topic. Yeah, exactly. Hot topic. Cooper Kupp. Excuse me. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is 31 years old. He's missed 17 games in the past 3 seasons. Right now, his salary is through 2026, about $26.7 million per year for the Rams. When we talk about Liam Cohen's offense on this podcast, we've said multiple times, Chris Godwin is playing the Cooper Kupp role. Okay. So what better player to plug into this offense than Cooper Kupp if the price is right? I personally think, just hear me out for a second. If Mike Evans comes back week 12, say we trade for Cooper Kupp, our offense potentially could be Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Kate Otten, Rashad Bucky, and Sean Tucker. I mean, that's a solid core.
And
if you get, I said Jalen McMillan.
Oh, I thought
so. Yeah. So, all right, Falcons this week, at the Chiefs next week, then at home against the 49ers. Then we have a bye. If we get one win out of these 3 games, then we're still in contention, obviously, to win the NFC South. Then you play at the Giants, at the Panthers, home against the Raiders, at the Chargers, at the Cowboys, home against the Panthers, and then the Saints for the final game of the season. If you insert Cooper Kupp into this lineup, I mean, that's a dangerous offense. And like I've said, I think last week, with the trade deadline coming up, these guys don't want to get rid of draft picks. But the reality is Cooper Kupp could be, if he stayed healthy, we could really be an effective offense and keep winning games with him on the roster. That's also a polarizing topic. Like I said, online, some people don't want him, but I mean, the reality is Liam knows Cooper Kupp very well. Baker knows Cooper Kupp. It could be a seamless transition to Cooper Kupp getting in the slot where Chris Godwin was playing and having immediate success in this offense, because it's not going to be hard for him to learn this offense. And what would the compensation be? I know we talked on the phone. Supposedly the Rams want a 2nd round pick for him. It could be a 3rd round conditional pick that turns into a 2nd. You could just trade a 3 and something else in the future. I mean, what are your thoughts on Cooper Kupp? Because the more I think about it, really like it, because it gives us a chance. It gets us back in the fight where people are saying, the season's lost, but Cooper Kupp could change that and really give a boost to the team going forward with these games.
Here's my thing. Can he do something better than Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer right now? And the answer is yes. He's immediately the best route runner on this team. I love J-Mac. I love Trey Palmer. But they are not route runners like this guy is. They're just not. And this guy was in an offense where he was the focal point of the defense and the offensive coordinator, and he still had over 100 catches. He had the freaking triple crown with everybody knowing that the ball was going to him. That tells you two things. He's got a creative offensive coordinator, but he also knows how to run routes. He's very, very, like, it's
one of the best
perfect.
Ever do it.
Yeah,
he's one of the
unbelievable.
best route runners of all time.
Unbelievable. And you bring him in, seamless transition. You have a guy that immediately Baker can lean on. You take away the superhero cape that might be coming with Baker Mayfield, having younger guys playing with him. You know, I tend to believe he's matured beyond that, but you never know. In moments in games, these guys go back to these types of scenarios. So absolutely go get him. Absolutely go get him. If you want to tell your team that you are ready right now and you believe in them, you go and get somebody that can bridge to the Mike Evans moment later on in the season. Then you have those two guys. Yeah. And here's my thing.
Literally, they could win. I mean,
they have an easy one. They have an easy situation.
Once you get to week 12, you can cruise through the rest of the season.
Against the Niners, the Falcons, those are winnable games, even with this roster right now. If they can just shore up some of the defensive problems, I really think they can compete with these two teams because, one, they know the Falcons and it's a division game, and the Falcons have no idea what we're going to do this week because we've never done this. Niners struggling across the board. They have wide receiver injuries. They have injuries. Again, a situation where I think they're kind of losing some of their, momentum for the last 3 or 4 years.
They need a reset, and that's why Cooper Kupp's on the trading block. They're at the point where they need a reset. And if you've seen the Rams in the past, they are not afraid to trade their picks to get all-star players on that roster. And you just kind of wonder right now, are we in that phase of the Buccaneers regime right now where we think we could make a move like this for Cooper Kupp to take us to the top? I mean,
I think it's a smart move because here's the thing. When people are talking about compensation, he's not worth the second pick. I agree. He's not worth the second round pick. But we just saw D-Hop this morning get traded for a 4th-round conditional pick, okay? He plays 60% of the snaps, and if they make the conference championship, it becomes a 3rd-round pick. That's a template right there, man. That's a template right there. I would be okay giving a 3rd-round pick that becomes a 2nd-round pick on 100%. the same conditions. So here's the thing. It's like, oh, no, we don't give up those picks. Those picks are valuable. Jason Light hits on those picks. Man, in no reality does Jason Light wake up every morning thinking every 7 picks I'm going to make are always going to make my team. It's not reality. Sometimes you got to give up some picks. That's how the NFL works. It just is. It's how it works. And it's part of the equation of building a team. Could he be a 1-year rental and nothing beyond that? Maybe. But sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's worth it. You never know, man. You never know. And if nobody really wants him after the end of the season, he might be willing to restructure and stay here.
That's what I was going to say.
But who cares? Listen, at this point, what you need to worry about right now.
If you trade for Cooper Kupp, obviously he has this big contract, but they are saying that the Rams will take money. And if you can get a good deal on Kupp, what I was going to ask you, though, if they trade for Cooper Kupp and Cooper Kupp, obviously he's meant for that role, what happens with Godwin's future with the Buccaneers?
Chris Godwin, his future doesn't change. That's the whole point. Like, I don't care if Cooper Kupp is traded for. They're still not looking at Cooper Kupp and saying he's better than the guy we have here because they know Chris is Chris. They're still going to re-sign Chris. And I think the fact that the Rams are willing to take on his salary, parts of his salary to get him out of town, tells you that the Bucs have some wiggle room. And at the end of the year, you don't want to keep Cooper Kupp. You gave that pick away. It is what it is.
Yeah,
you move on.
Also,
or maybe he restructures.
Well, that's what I'm just about to say. I'm like, listen, if you got Mike Greenberg in this building, and if they sit down with Cooper Kupp and they make that move and restructure Cooper Kupp, and then suddenly Liam Cohen has Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, and Chris Godwin in the same offense, I mean, that would be
Cooper
something
Kupp
I'd be looking forward to.
Doesn't have to be the starter next year either. Like, he could transition to being a guy that comes in, certain situations, certain packages. Obviously, you don't pay him to be a starter. There's nothing wrong with that. Depth
I still
is
think
massive.
He's got quite a bit in the tank.
I agree, but you're not going to start him over Chris.
It's a similar situation how you look at Mike Evans and know Mike Evans is going to be effective even as he ages, because Cooper Kupp's going to be effective as he ages because of his route running. He will always get himself open.
My thing is more so about keeping him fresh, keeping him off the injured report, things like that.
Right.
But he's going to be able to take reps and help Chris, help Mike. He'll be able to help J-Mac, Trey Palmer. It makes things a little bit more comfortable. And you need depth in this league, man. You just need it. I mean, look at the Chiefs. They've gone through every possible receiver on their team, and they're still just adding more. Every year they trade for another guy. We're not in the same window as them, but I mean, come on, dude. Really? You don't think you get Cooper Kupp, dude? You absolutely go get him. I don't care what happens after the season. Worry about that at the end of the year. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. With getting Kupp, you could say, oh, well, we could just go get a new wide receiver in the first round. And the talent that's coming out of the draft for wide receivers has just been kind of crazy how good these kids are. But the reality is, you look at this defense, we need to spend the first 3 rounds on defensive players, or you could say a tight end. And then if you get Cooper Kupp here, maybe restructure that and have him here for the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, you're looking good in this offense, and you feel good about this offense. And then you start really rebuilding this defense, at least at key pieces. So I was going to move on and tell you, right now, moving forward, our offense is looking like Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, and Trey Palmer, and basically Cade Otton with our running backs. Like you said, with that injury to Evans, that's a hard thing to just re-game plan everything. Cohen having a week to know who's playing each role. I'd imagine McMillan's going to take the Godwin spot in the slot. But, you can't just say we're going to lose to the Falcons. It still could be a good ball game. I hate to go back to the last topic. I really think they pull the trigger. They should pull the trigger and get Cooper Kupp on this roster.
If it doesn't happen this week, they still have next week to pull it off. I think it's not the worst idea to go into the week and see how it plays out and then kind of reassess and be like, all right, Liam, what do you think? Can you move forward with what we have, or should we just go and get you Cooper Kupp and make it a little bit easier? I think Trey Palmer, although he's played in the slot at times, he's going to naturally fit in and slide right into the Mike Evans role. He's not going to be Mike Evans, so we need to kind of relax. But he can run down the field like Mike Evans does. He could still stretch the field. I don't think these guys are very great at route running themselves because, again, they're young, but And they don't get to see the ball as often. And I think some of that is rhythm. J-Mac not seeing the ball as often as he would in college plays a part in him dropping balls sometimes. Same thing with Trey Palmer. But we've seen Trey, when he's put in that starting role, he's done well. He did it against the Eagles last year in the playoffs. He was awesome. So I think they just need to adjust what they do to what these guys can do. And J-Mac might flourish being that guy coming across the middle, playing that role as a slot receiver. But Sterling Shepard, too, same thing. I expect him to step up and kind of fill some of that. How tough can they be compared to Chris Godwin is the ultimate test, and that's, I think, what's going to determine how we run routes with them. But, man, we got a killer screen game with the offensive line. We have a killer screen game when we throw it to any running back. We have a lot of gadgety handoffs to wide receivers and running backs. We have a really, really effective pony package. We run the counter really, really well. We're learning that we don't have to run zone blocking for our running backs. We have enough, I think, to figure it out, to make it move and work forward. And we ran the ball against the Ravens, who were keeping teams to 59 yards a game. Oh, yeah. We ran the ball well over that, okay, while losing. So I still think we have something there to lean on. The defense is more of the issue than the offense, because the offense right now has kind of been bailing the defense out. We need the defense now to help that other side of the ball out, like what Baker used to have in Cleveland. Running game, okay receivers, ridiculously good defense. I
was just going to talk about this. Baker Mayfield right now leads the NFL in passing touchdowns, but if you go back to his Cleveland days, he was throwing the dog shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was throwing to wide receiver threes, and he was still effective. As long as he cuts down on these boneheaded throws that just have kind of showed up. They showed up this week against the Ravens. Obviously the last game against the Saints, and then that Broncos game. But like when he's dialed in, and he's used to literally, like I said, throwing to dog shit receivers. And I don't think Jalen McMillan's dog shit. I don't think Sterling Shepard's dog shit. I don't think Trey Palmer's dog shit. They'll figure it out. They'll have a new game plan. There's definitely a chance we can still beat Atlanta at home. It's the defense has really just got to step up for this team. And like I said, listen, hear me out one more time. And I'm just going to say this one last time. If you trade for Cooper Kupp, when Mike Evans comes back, all right.
I'm with you. You don't got to convince me, dude.
I'm just saying, at the Giants, at the Panthers, Raiders at home, at the Chargers, at the Cowboys, Panthers at home, Saints at home. We
just got to get to the bye. Just get to the bye.
You got to get to the bye and then get hot starting week 12, and hot teams win in the playoffs.
We did it last year. We won down the stretch when it mattered. This team still could win 10 games, which is wild to say, but I think consistency and changing some of the little things. Middle linebacker is a massive problem right now, even with Levante playing on the field.
Yeah.
Got to figure some of this stuff out. Got to figure this stuff out. Jordan Whitehead played one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. Antoine did not play a good game. It looked like they were just confused as to what they were supposed to be doing between them, Levante, and KJ Britt. And KJ Britt's in the equation. I'm almost always going to say that's probably his fault. But
yeah,
if they can listen, they played the Falcons one time. They have pride, these guys. They're not going to allow him to do what he did, Kirk Cousins, a second time. They understand what they saw. They understand the deficiencies. They should have some sort of game plan. Todd Bowles usually does well the second time against the guy, right?
Well,
so
think about the Chiefs Super Bowl when we got waxed by the Chiefs, and then Todd Bowles' game plan, a hell of a game plan, and we won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, and we made their offense look like awful
garbage. But the one game in this stretch here of the next 3 weeks is the Chiefs. That's the one game I think we really can't win because they have such an elite defense. It's just going to give us a lot of problems with a lot of young guys on the back end. And
Mahomes
the wide receiver
is absolutely awful this year.
They're winning on the defense.
They're still just winning every game.
That's the defense, man. And if you go to a game like that without a go-to stud wide receiver like a Mike or a Chris, it's very hard to beat them. I mean, the Niners had both of their studs in that game. Well, not really. Ayuk was in there. And they still had, obviously, Kittle. And they still really had no chance in that game. It was weird. It was uncomfortable. Purdy looked like, Brock Purdue. It looked terrible. So the Bucs don't have a number one. They don't have an elite tight end. They got to figure it out. They have a running back machine. Maybe that's how you beat that team. But you got Chris Jones staring you in the middle, right in the face. So that's the one game I say, you know what? Really no chance. Their defense is very elite. But the others are winnable. And then you go to the bye like you're talking about. Then you got a pretty smooth opportunity heading into playoffs.
I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen in any game. But looking at the schedule
and the rosters,
if you're somewhat healthy, you could get. And I said this before the season even started. Like this was part of my record prediction was when you get to week 12, you could run the table if you're healthy. But obviously, we're not healthy. But if you make different moves, we could be dangerous to run the table.
I agree. I think we got to get through this stretch, which we were saying before the season started, before any injuries happened. It's still the same thing. It's a little bit tougher. But, I mean, we have answers that we didn't know we had. We have Bucky. We have Rashad figuring out, how to utilize him in the passing game like we saw, this past Monday. And
my
then
dad was like, put him in the slot.
And plus, obviously you can't do that. But also you've got what's his name? God, I'm for number 44, Sean Tucker. Okay,
oh so my God, dude.
Now all of a sudden we have these other elements that we didn't know about, and going into the season now these are surprises. Okay, let's figure it out. Maybe Kupp sees the field more. Maybe he's an opportunity to stretch the field, to bring some playmaking ability out there. We'll see. So let's see how it goes this weekend. I think after this weekend, I would not be surprised if it's a struggle on offense that Cooper Kupp is coming to town on Tuesday. Hopefully the Rams sit him to continue raising his stock there, make sure we get him completely healthy. And I think,
I mean, if they really put him on the trade block, they're not going to play him.
Yeah.
And that will be in negotiations when they're talking to other GMs interested. They're saying we're going to keep him on the bench. By the way, random not to do with the Bucs. Love seeing Jameis Winston about to start some games for the Browns.
Yeah, man. I'm a Jameis guy, bro. You know that.
I'm the Jameis guy.
I'm excited, dude. I'm watching the Browns game probably over the Bucs game. I'll be at the stadium. Sorry, folks. All right.
But yeah, all right. Well, yeah, we're gonna sign off here. And guys, don't forget Moneyline Dogs. I have a new co-host, the Degenerate. Somehow we both crushed all our prop bets for this game, and somehow he knew Kate Otton was going to have some kind of monster game. I'm looking at him recording the show, like, what are you talking about? And the guy has 8 receptions for 100 yards, or 8 receptions, 100 yards in this game. So please tune into that. And then, Sammer, where can they find us?
Of course, on this brand spanking new YouTube channel. So we need as many subscribers as possible. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. Share it with your friends. Might have a few giveaways coming up our sleeves to help build that subscriber number. The more we can get, and once we get to a certain point, we'll be able to open up other features and other perks for you guys. So make sure you hit the like button, hit that comment section, leave us a comment, tell us what you think about Todd Bowles, what you think about the injuries, what you think about the season moving forward. And of course, don't forget to check out our brand new website, which is the network that hosts all of these amazing podcasts, writers, content creators, and videos, which is the813.tv. That's the website, www.the813.tv. Click, browse, check it out, show us some love, and we'll see you guys Friday
for
a little bit of a preview for this terrible creamsicle game that I'm not interested in seeing uniform-wise. But I still think the Bucs have a massive opportunity to, play a game for their boy, number 1-4, and go out there, unified, galvanized. I've seen things like this happen when teams get bonded after, a massive problem like this and getting written off. We've seen them. Chips on their shoulders are massive. Baker Mayfield's middle name is Chip on Shoulder at this point. Let's go see if they come out there. Nobody expects us to win. Hell yeah, let's go. Let's go win that game.
Go Bucs. Go Bucs.